Hello everyone and welcome to this video where I'm going to be diving into the urinary mycotoxin test from Mosaic Diagnostics, just to help you get a little bit better understanding in regards to how we should be interpreting these set of results. So just to give you a little bit of background as to me, my name is Alex Manos. I am an Institute of Functional Medicine certified practitioner. I certified with IFM in 2016, and I have a master's in personalized nutrition. I'm also co-founder of Health Path and Health Path Pro. And arguably most importantly, in the context of today's video, I've spent the last decade or so supporting clients with mold-related illnesses. And it's worth just touching on how I got into this space because I was at the time looking after and supporting a lot of clients with digestive issues and chronic fatigue syndrome. And a lot of clients were coming to me having tried all the usual things that we would try. They'd tried the diets, they tried the supplement protocols, they've done the vagus nerve activating exercises. And some of them had temporary relief. Some were just stuck with their symptoms and nothing seems to shift them. So we were forced to think outside the box. We were forced to consider additional testing and explore what might be preventing interventions that can often be successful from being so. And that opened up this realization that a lot of these individuals were struggling with mold-related illnesses. They had lived, worked, stayed in a water-damaged building, been exposed to high levels of mycotoxins, which are just secondary metabolites from species of molds. And that is what was essentially driving their dis-ease. So when we look at these results and we try and get a deeper understanding into them, there are two really critical interconnected things to understand. The first thing to understand is that any positive test may be significant. And when I say positive, I mean a detectable mycotoxin. So as you can see in just this snapshot of one of the pages within the Mosaic Diagnostic report, that there is a green and a red area. The green is indicating that this is a normal amount of the mycotoxin detected in the urine, and red is a high sort of positive result. But we can very easily argue that even a result in the normal is something that we may need to consider. And we're going to touch on why by bringing in this second point, which is the results do not reflect your client's or your total body burden of the toxin. So the higher the results, many people are led to believe that that means they have more of that toxin that is accumulated within the body. And while there's obviously an element of truth to this, it's not that straightforward because the test isn't testing your total body burden. It's ultimately testing the capacity of your body to eliminate that mycotoxin. And obviously within that sample, that one urine sample. So it's very possible that someone is not going to get an accurate indication of their body burden, the amount of the mycotoxin that may have accumulated within the body by just one test. Now we can deepen this understanding by asking ourselves, what does a negative test mean? Now, obviously, it might mean that they just don't have a mycotoxin issue. It might mean that they haven't had any exposure to mold, or the exposure they have had, they've successfully dealt with without any sort of exogenous intervention. But it could be that the person's ability to eliminate, to detoxify the mycotoxin is severely inhibited. Now, I believe that I've absolutely seen this in clinic, whereby clients have had a known mold exposure. They've lived in a water damaged building. Their health issues started when living in that building, but they still have a completely negative test result. We also have research showing us that, for example, inflammation can inhibit certain CYP enzymes, and these are enzymes involved in the first phase of detoxification. But it's also possible that the person was exposed to a mycotoxin that just isn't tested for in the test. There are hundreds of mycotoxins that we're aware of. We're testing for about a dozen. So we do need to be mindful of that potentially significant limitation when it comes to mycotoxin testing. It might not be related to the person's capacity to detox. It might just be that we're not even testing for the mycotoxins that are impacting their health status. So what about retesting? We now understand that when we do our initial test, it's not giving us necessarily a sign of their total body burden, that we have to take the results with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because if someone's detox capacity is compromised, we're not going to get an accurate indicator of what's going on. And for these reasons, retesting I actually find to be more valuable and helpful than the initial test. This might happen 3 months after the initial one, after supporting someone's detoxification of these mycotoxins. And sometimes, quite often in my experience, you get a set of results that you might describe as worse, meaning either mycotoxins that were positive in the first test are even more positive in the second test, meaning the person's eliminating a greater amount, or there are mycotoxins that were negative in the first test that are now positive in the second test. Why might this be? Well, it might be that the person has actually been re-exposed to mold, assuming that they are now out of mold. That might explain why new mycotoxins are suddenly popping up. But I think in my experience, more frequently, people have improved detoxification capacity because you've been supporting it through dietary supplement lifestyle means. And now, because you've supported the detoxification of these toxins, you're getting a better indicator of their body burden. It might be that ochratoxin A was at 20 in the first test and is now at 1,000, for example. It could be that you're poking the bear, meaning that you're making the molds that could have colonized inside the client angry. It's so important to appreciate that to produce mycotoxins is an energetically demanding process. And as a result, mold doesn't do it unless it needs to do it. So if you are using binders and using maybe too high a dose, so to speak, or if you're using antifungals and you're sort of killing the fungi, these can lead to an increase in mycotoxins in the urine because the mold is actually increasing its production of mycotoxins. The sort of important bit of context to help us understand which of these might be most likely is, how is that person feeling? If they're starting to feel better, it may well be that their detox capacity is improved and they're just starting to eliminate these toxins at a better rate than they were previously. If they're feeling worse, it's a no-brainer. You might be doing too much. You might be treating them too much, or you might be being treated too much. So there are these kind of little nuances and key things to appreciate when assessing a mycotoxin urinary test. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you are struggling with a mold-related illness and you want to work with a practitioner, then check out our directory. I will add a link into the notes or the comments below, and you'll be able to find a mold literate practitioner who will be able to support you on your journey. But as I say, I hope this has been helpful. I'm going to be doing future videos where I'll talk about some of these individual mycotoxins and some of the things that we want to be considering from a dietary, supplement, and lifestyle perspective to effectively detoxify them from the body.